What's up? So in this video I am going to walk through my live setup and show the different pieces and how they all fit together. Let's do it. Here is a high-level diagram of the different pieces, and it starts with 4 different software applications, then moves into the modular synthesizer, and then finally to this mixer. So we'll start with the software. I'm running Facet, which is this live coding system on the left. At some points I open up Wax, which is like a sort of ghetto Max MSP that I've built that runs in the browser. And I'm also running Max MSP, this patch which I have a separate video about. It's a neural network that's trained on my previous albums and has all sorts of interesting things you can do with it. And then lastly there's Ableton Live, 16 different synthesizers. They're all pretty simple, just mostly like monophonic pads, some bass synths, but mostly just like based on a sampler. There's one channel that's drums. There's some Max for Live stuff, like this is just a reverb send. There's also a custom Max for Live device that I built called Blur, which does like complex feedback on one of the 2 effects chains. There's also this custom device called Pluck, which just does car plus strong synthesis. But all in all, it's like just synthesizers basically in a couple effects chains. And you can see each of the synths has kind of some custom mixing just to get everything to kind of sit together. So then back to the diagram, that's all the different applications. They get mixed down and go out to the Expert Sleepers ES9. So that's this module here in the Euro rack system. And then a dry mix from the computer just continues on to the mixer. So they're one of the 2 channels in the performance mixer that I'm using is just the dry computer mix. And then the other channel is the modular mix. So ultimately there's just 2 channels in the mixer. They both can also be sent to this reverb pedal as a sort of final send. And that's pretty much the system. Then looking at the stuff that's happening inside the modular, there are 3 effects sends. The first one is a reverb unit, which is the verb going into a Dave Smith Instruments feedback DSM-03. So those 2 are coupled together. And essentially you can see like the audio sends, there's just 2 cables, just the stereo send from the computer of everything mixed down. Those get multed and then sent into these momentary switches. So there's 3 of them that I'm using. And when I momentarily open any of them, they go to one of the 3 effects sends. So this first one is for the reverb into the feedback. The second one is for clouds running in spectral mode, spectral madness mode. And the third is a custom pitch shifter that I built for the patch init module from Electrosmith. You can port Max MSP gen code and run it on this module. So this is a custom pitch shifter. Here are the effects sends by themselves. Here's reverb into feedback. Here is clouds spectral madness mode. And the pitch shifter. So they're just ways to interact with the grooves as they're happening and give some tactile control over the sound, help improvise by feeling what's going on in the moment and being able to move over there and mess around with the sound. There's also 5 drums in the modular. There's a kick, there's noise, there's a kind of snare element that's from the Akemi's Taiko FM synthesizer. So and then there's, you can actually ping the feedback module itself. So, and the last one is this FM radio. So every time I tap the momentary switch, it switches to a new random FM station. You can also latch a clock, which randomizes itself, and then if you hold the switch, it's just random stations. So really nice for one of the sections I do kind of like automatic jamming with that. And that's pretty much most of the stuff going on in the synth. You can see that everything is very flat, so I can go to whatever touch points I want to mess with. The rest of this is just like mixing stuff, a compressor. Then finally there is a last effect prior to sending out, which is this qubit prism, and I'm mainly using it to like either just freeze the spectrum and do like stuttering or comb filtering. So for example, like you can do that sort of stuff really easily with this module. And that's it. You've got two mixes, the dry computer mix, the modular mix. They both go into this mixer, and then there's a final reverb send if you want to use that. Then most of the actual motion is coming from the live code. So you can see it, like if we start with the top command, what's happening here, set the BPM to 50, load preset 17 in the max patcher, and then ramp from -1 to 1 on this min slider over 128 values over 2 bars. So if I run this, it will load here. Moving on to the next section. So this is where we started from, right? And yeah, that's the idea. You can see my CPU is super high. It's because OBS, for some reason, I've tried a million settings, just doesn't work super well with Facet. So the recording of this session means that it's kind of slowing down the performance of this a little bit, but it's okay. Basically, I'm just running through these different commands. Here's one. Yeah, it's really just running commands, moving stuff around, and following the kind of flow that I've just developed over the course of getting all this stuff prepared. And then at some points I do start to like move to the modular. Like here's one example where start to play this pad and drop this beat, and then I start messing with the drums over here. Oops, I gotta slow this down too. Play. Then eventually I get to this point where I'm like randomizing the neural network in Max, And then I start playing some drums in live and modifying this pitch shifter. You can see that pitch shifter is being modified there. And then I drop this kick snare pattern on top. And here we go. Then eventually I get to this point where I'm playing a Car Plus Strong synth over here and modulating its filter parameter here and changing its gain as well. And then I load up this state in Wax. Which is kind of like abstract bass that's tuned to like C major or something like that. So I'll turn the rest of the elements off so you can hear what's happening. So, yeah, those are different sections that are happening. Like eventually I drop more samples on top here. It's just really like an abstract section with a whole bunch of different synths that are all generally in tune with each other. And eventually that goes into stuff like this. Yeah. Then into this groove section here, which is really fun. Yeah. All sorts of stuff. There's a whole bunch of different sections, so I don't think I'm going to go through all of them. You can see in some cases, like, this is a good example. I'm just grabbing a random sample from this directory. Like, originally when I was writing this whole piece, whatever you want to call it, this set, I had this as more of a fully developed command. Not just loading a random sample, but like synthesizing something. But in order to preserve CPU, eventually I just rendered like 100 different copies, and then this is just picking one randomly. So just kind of like asynchronous composition, I guess you'd say. Then last state is this one down here where I'm running a bunch of chords that move through the circle of fifths over 12 loops, and then playing a beat and also improvising on top with Photosounder. So I'll show you what that looks like. Yeah. So, yeah, this image in Photosounder was a little different than the one I was using in the set, but just to, I don't know, quickly show, it's something I generated with Facet and dropped in here, and so I'm just kind of manually manipulating the spectrum while also jamming along. Yeah, that's a quick run through of the set. That's kind of a good place to stop. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. Thanks for watching. Bye.